Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. We have a topic today where we're going to discuss uh, competition. There's been a sense of competition with respect to our brothers and sisters or cousins from the diaspora. Uh, I see this a lot in the academic world. A lot of braggery um, from on the college level from professors from Nigeria and from West Africa. I see it a lot from West Africa. Braggery of, you know, we have more medical doctors and we're more successful. So I've heard about one too many times. So we're going to kind of, very politely and kindly challenge that notion with scholarship, with evidence. So the question is the diaspora, particularly West Africa? I don't really hear this so much from certain areas in the diaspora, but I hear it a lot from West Africa. So for all intents and purposes, is West Africa, if are West Africans more successful than FBAs? Is that a fact? We're gonna challenge that. And I ask, is the proof in the pudding? And short answer, yes. The proof is in the pudding. So if you make the claim that you're more successful than a certain group, we have to look at statistics to find out if that's true. We're going to look at a bunch of different categories. But I'm gonna ask Wani. Wani, is West Africa more successful than Black Americans?
Not at all.
Uh-oh.
I mean, how do you brag about being a doctor when you've gone to Morgan State University
Hello.
and were trained by Black American doctors in a Black American HBCU, which you don't have an equivalent of world-class schools. And on top of that, they, I don't understand. That's kind of like me borrowing my sister's dress and then going out in the dress to steal her boyfriend. We're helping these people. We're bringing them over uh, as a charity. Uh, 80 guys came over at one time to Morgan State University and others. We are doing them, we're extending a hand. And yes, some of these are wealthier Nigerians and they do pay cash, which is why these HBCUs are being, shisty and trying to get cash and pocket some of it. This is the only reason they're getting this type of attention. But bottom line, all of our outreach to these people is charitable. That's the issue. We're extending charity and they're slam dunking our charity in our face. And we're just supposed to put it on this back burner and say, they don't know any better. That's what Pan Africanists have been telling us the whole time. Well, they don't know any better.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I've seen. How do you go to a historical? How do you go to Meharry Medical School, which was designed to close the gap between Black Americans and Caucasian Americans with respect to slavery? That's what that's about. How do you go there and then brag that you know, um, or claim that FBAs are lazy and undisciplined when you went to their school? You took an opportunity from one of our children. You know what I'm saying? A lot of that is going around. But Dr. Claude Anderson really identifies what that's about. Basically, um, members from West Africa. Well, let me be more specific. Let me not be broad. Let me say from Nigeria specifically. I see personally, anecdotally, a lot of that from Nigeria. And I had a professor friend of mine who ended up losing his job. Nice enough. He was at least really honest. He was really young in the School of Computer Science. Um, and we would have lunch and he would tell me, he said, I would ask, this is before I was on Spaces about 3 years ago. And I just would ask him, what's the deal? And he would be really honest. He said, he's like, Dr. A, we slick jealous of y'all. That's what he said as a Nigerian. As it turns out, he lied about his credentials. He didn't have an MBA and they fired him. He, said he had an MBA from University of Maryland and they hired him and they were awaiting transcripts. Transcripts never came. Then they contacted the University of Maryland. He never had it, but he was nice enough. But this guy just really gave up the game. He said it's a sense of competition with Black Americans with respect to West Africa. I've heard that several times, which is okay. That's okay to be in competition with somebody, but don't use their shit. Um, Ghana has a medical school. Ghana has a law school. Go there. You know what I'm saying? What I saw as a professor, it motivated me to start a space. You know what I'm saying? To come to spaces. I wanted answers. And what I found out that the vitriol, thank you, love. The vitriol is based on some sense of insecurity with these people. I like origins, ladies and gentlemen, which is why my students tend to flock towards me, and why people even listen to what I got to say. Is I'm not the smartest, I'm not the sharpest knife, I'm not the brightest light bulb, but I like one thing I do that I think is kind of unique is I want to know origins, and that's really just my personality. So, what are the origins of this insecurity? Wani, you want to know what I think the origins of the insecurity comes from? I think the origins of insecurity come from two things. Number one, the fact that West Africans sold us into the slave trade. That we weren't supposed to make it. You know what I'm saying? Those of us who did come over, not everybody came over on the boat. That's something that's coming out big time. We weren't supposed to make it. Number one, and number two, the doctrine. Are you aware of the doctrine of unequal exchange?
No, what's it about?
Basically, well, you are. It's just a fancy word for saying that they didn't make good business choices when they sold us. You know, they got screwed over. They got the shit end of the stick for selling slaves, um and now they're angry. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of embarrassment there. Well, when you look at the Black American, after all the shit we've been through, and I taught about this today and kind of got shocked myself. All the stuff we've been through, we're still I mean, we're doing well. I mean, Atlanta is full of a bunch of successful Black people. Like, I mean, ultra successful. It looks like a Black Beverly Hills. You know what I'm saying? We're not supposed to be doing this well, especially when you think of the fact that the Georgia Corporation, Atlanta, Georgia being a state that was literally created to keep Black people down. Think about that for a minute. This is a state that was literally created as buffer colony to keep Blacks and Native Americans down, and now Blacks run this motherfucker. That says a whole lot. You know, it's insecurity.
It is. But when we go over each sector of achievement, none of these people measure up to anything. We can go over each part of our development in such a short period of time, just sports alone. These other people have been around for, supposedly thousands of years. And yet they've developed nothing in terms of either creating their own sports venues so that people come to them. It still comes down to the Greco-Roman Empire in the Olympics, which is a knockoff of what Egypt had going on those hieroglyphics. They had very organized games, by the way. Every manner of game you can think of is on hieroglyphics, from rowing boats, running, boxing stances. Um, I've seen everything on there, but that's beside the point. We have excelled in sports. We have excelled in entertainment to the point of creating dance crazes in everybody across the whole world looking at our athletes and our music and using our inventions. We have been extremely inventive and innovative, and none of these countries can boast that. None of them can say those things. All they can do, any of them, and I mean this includes Indians, Chinese people, they are here too. None of them can say anything except I have gone to America, I have gone to a school, and I've gotten a job. Hooray for me. That's the extent of their uh, contribution to the United States, which is not a contribution. You coming here to go to school and getting a job is not a contribution to this country. They have absolutely nothing to do with the country whatsoever.
Yeah, that's another point of frustration. Like, you brag about West Africa and how I don't know my lineage and how you know who you are and how you're from a great place. Now, I'm not a hater. I'm a congratulator. Let me say something. Let me be real clear with something. Ghana and Togo were in a way the most beautiful place visually beautiful place I've ever seen in my life. I'm not going to take that away from them, but how are you going to come over here, go to school, taking scholarship from a child in the ghetto, and and diss the child in the ghetto? How does that work? Like I told you, those of you who don't know me, don't know this. I had the job of my dreams. I was professor of education, and the Democratic Congressman Steve Cohen, he had no choice but to put me on a grant as an administrator, researching COVID. Which the reason being, there was a professor at Rhodes College, which is lily white. It's a very beautiful school, but it's lily white. Thank you. That looks beautiful. Um, in Memphis, Tennessee, um, contacted Congressman Steve Cohen with a grant, with a NOFO, and got approved for a multi-million-dollar grant to study COVID-19. Um, and the grant was executed. But the grant, since it was federal government, it had a clause in there that said for the grant to execute, you need at least one minority serving institution on the grant. So my college was the only minority institution within a 100-mile radius, and so they picked us. And my one administrator that really liked me said, "Professor A, you own it. Do it." So I was kind of like the X-Men for a minute, but we're gonna have a space on that because I've noticed that I did not sign an NDA. So we're gonna congratulations, y'all. You're gonna have a space. We're gonna talk about that as much as I can talk about that without disappearing. But anyway, my point in bringing that up is I lost that dream job because I wrote a book to help foundational Black American students, and B, I challenged a Nigerian professor in front of everybody. I challenged a Nigerian professor who got up in the faculty meeting, faculty and staff, talking about how stupid our children were, and he worked for the school. He worked for these kids who he calls stupid. Anyway,
Do you think this is some sort of I mean, if I were to give them grace, you could make the case that they're just crude and they don't know how to talk, and we're missing something in the translation because any other way, it just comes off as they're just not humanitarian minded, which is what we know that they're not. They do not have that humanitarian spirit. That's another thing that we have over all of these groups. We have a history of helping these people, and they haven't helped us ever. Frederick Douglass was the greatest civil rights leader for guess who? Asian people. He advocated for the end of the yellow peril. He advocated for the against the Chinese Exclusion Act, and he was the one who wanted them to be able to immigrate over here, and fussed with white people who said no. We already have enough of them, and we want to get rid of them. We're the only ones that did that. They didn't advocate for themselves. They just hid out in Chinatowns, you see, and waiting for the heat to be off. That's all they ever do is wait for the heat to be off. Whether it's going
Wani,
to
if I may interject right quick,
go ahead.
just to put a pin in your point and seal it. Dr. Claude Anderson says on page 103 of Black Labor White Wealth, he says today there is little cooperation, political or otherwise, between blacks and minority groups. For the most part, ethnic minorities do not support black causes. They have been getting a free ride. That's what this is exactly verbatim what Dr. Claude is saying. Quote, they have been getting a free ride at black people's expenses on civil rights and minority programs. As members of loosely formed political coalitions, they are most quiet while blacks agitate, but they are quick to stake their claim on affirmative action benefits won by blacks. That's what Wani's talking about.
And they actually, there's many videos of them smirking up in San Francisco while we were out there being attacked for trying to get civil rights that they enjoy. There was a Chinese, some sort of Chinese politician smirking and laughing. Oh, no, we didn't go out, and looking sheepish while they didn't do anything. You see, and they never learn their lessons. These people are not intelligent. While we're being abused, their attitude is, oh no, we're not going to be treated like that until they are, until they do. When every time COVID comes around, guess who gets slapped upside the head? Every time there's a terrorist attack, guess who gets slapped upside the head? Sikh Indians who had nothing to do with it, regular Indians who had nothing to do with it, people that look like Arabs that had nothing to do with it. That's what happens. That's why we did what we did to stop the lack of civilization. We needed civil rights to civilize these people that we were around, but they don't see that, and they never get a Chinese wake up call. They never get an Indian wake up call. They never get an Arab wake up call because they're fundamentally not smart. They don't see the benefit of that. And even though they've had hands upside their heads in recent years, all through my life, for one reason or another, they've had hands upside their heads based on racist beliefs or based on people having fear of COVID and 9/11, all the rest of it. They don't learn their lesson, but we still fight. The only difference is now the fight is going to be very, very uh, inclusive of us only. And it's not going to be BIPOC, it's not going to be people of color. All of those people just hang out there wherever you are, not my issue. You fight your own fight, and that goes for everybody. Anyone who's come over here from another country, you will be fighting your own fight from now on. Go ahead, Fire Nagy.
Thank you. Good morning, Professor. Good morning, Wani. Good morning, Nick. Or good afternoon.
That was a mistake, Fire Nagy. My finger hit the wrong button. I'm sorry. Good morning. I mean, well, good afternoon. Good evening. Or just good. How about good? Come on, Fire Nagy. That was my bad.
Is it a double
Okay.
mute?
All right. So Wani, you did tee me up, and I'm like, oh, she must see me coming. Um, the point of the Olympics was so interesting that you brought up because I believe that South Sudan played the United States in like a meaningless, prelim game, right? The kicker. I believe they ended up beating the United States, but it was a meaningless game. It was Olympic basketball game. And I watched, I said, those are not Sudanese. I said, that's one of those guys is a black American, I can tell. And they naturalized a black American to play guard. This is what they did. They naturalized him before the Olympics so he could play guard. Their coach was Mike Brown. So when I was debating that with some South Sudanese people, I said, well, you didn't actually beat us. You had a black American who wants to be seen by the NBA, so he's playing against his own country, which that's debatable, or was the why he would do that. And then you have Mike Brown, a black American coach, and they were like, "We still beat you guys. We don't care." And I was like, "Okay, you just want to beat us, and you don't care how you beat us." My question to the host is that do you think that our state and how we view humanity needs modification? Because I see humanity as wanting to always knock down the people who are at the top. There's hints to saying they were the envy of the world, right? They were the envy of all civilization. Do
Right.
you see that as the natural state of humanity, and our state is more unnatural? And by that I mean that we've evolved into I'm gonna use a Star Trek thing. We've evolved to like an evolved state of humanism that humanity hasn't caught up with yet.
That's an interesting question,
Yeah.
Fire Nagy. That's oh wow, that's deep. Yo, man.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
And
we go ahead,
ano-
one.
another thing is that we were trained, at least I was, and I think most people were in America, to be, to have integrity, morals. We had all those Jack and Jill clubs, Boy Scouts, speaking about a Midwestern work ethics. We had all those things that were there. They were ideals. We know that everyone didn't do them, but there was a somewhat sense of civilization. Okay. But now we're confronted with people that don't have that. So they're laughing in our face, talking about, look how stupid Americans are. They leave their mail on the doorstep. We can't do that where we come from. We can't have any kind of trust where we come from. Why would we want to now compete with people that are in cheating rings, people that cheat their way through everything? And I asked someone, I said, how far can you go cheating? Like, can you become a doctor? Can you cheat your way into being a doctor? Some doctors you could cheat your way, have people to take your test and all this type of thing. So they have a completely different attitude. They don't have that thing where they have just a inside the pride of knowing you've done something yourself. All they care about is winning. They don't care how they win. Like Fire Nagy said, they'll use our coach, our people, our this and our that. And every time I see someone winning, I have to double check because this guy won some track and field race. And I said, Italy? How did Italy win track and field? And I went over there and looked, and I knew it wasn't an African, even though they're all piled up over there. It was a Black American man with an Italian mother. He was born in Texas. So is his father. But his father, I think, was in the military and he went over to Italy. This man is half Black American and still burning up the track over everybody else. So yeah, we've got the juice and they don't. And there's no segment of society, there's no part of human development that we have not aced. We have not aced. The only thing we've done is we've followed the rules too much. To be honest, we don't have organized crime. Other people uplift their people with organized crime. Sorry to say. Sorry, not sorry. Everybody else coming over here has organized crime and it has had it for hundreds of years. New people have it now. We don't have that. Okay. And we still have that humanitarian spirit. that other people don't have. And that burns up a lot of our energy because we spend a lot of energy going, oh my God, that's not right, and blah, blah, blah. And we're all projected over in all these other people's business. Meanwhile, while we're saying that's not right, those Palestinians are being abused, which is true, they are. But when they get over here, they call the police on George Floyd and others like him, and they don't care. They're white supremacists the moment that they show up. And until I see a change in that, I'm not going to expend my energy on any more humanitarian. There's plenty of Black Americans to be humanitarian towards. Go ahead, Cash. Oh,
Well,
was
quickly,
Councilman?
if
Go
quick,
ahead.
oh, go ahead. I just quickly wanted to say to answer the question earlier, posited by the gentleman. I want to say that Bobby Hammet years ago said that the Creator intentionally put us through this meat grinder to create a diamond. We have a whole bunch of different genes, the best of all genes, and we've been put in a situation of pressure to bring out the best possible result. So yeah, I think that is a point of jealousy with other groups, is to see that we persevere no matter what. We almost can't help but to win. Have y'all noticed that? It's like we can't help it. We just keep winning, you know. And there's no arrogance there, which makes it worse. You know, like Muhammad Ali. I watched him. He had fights where he could have just really went off on the opponent, but he didn't. He just, I think Muhammad Ali embodies the spirit of the foundational Black American. But go ahead, Cash Games. It's good to see you, Cash. I ain't seen you in a minute.
Peace, your shout out to you, Professor. Nikki, you know what I'm saying, Wani, down the line. The check first and foremost. All right, so to this title, and dang, let me throw some stuff in there just real quick. Palestinians, the Arab slave trade. Hey, so look, Harvard, Professor AllanH, every time I see you in spaces, I think about what you had said that one time, that even though there were people who were Harvard level educated, they still had thick ass accents, and you didn't understand how they could, be at that level of education but still be incoherent. That's something that's really been sitting with me and making me think more, even about my own experience growing up, and about teachers I might have had who, instead of being humble in being a 1.5 language speaker or something like that, they looked at me as though I was less intelligent for being able to not understand their accent. I'm not really sure how to phrase it, but it
No,
was
you made
flipped on.
sense.
You know what I'm saying? Like, can't understand your accent means we dumb. Like, I don't get that. Even the first year I was in college, it was a Pakistani dude trying to teach us communications, like ethos, pathos, and stuff. And I had to be honest, like, it was just something to laugh at being in that class more than something to take serious because of him. And like, I bring it up, like that makes me, the problem. So I skated it. But the model minority myth ain't a myth. And I think we're starting to understand that in the disaggregation conversation. I've been looking at how the Japanese Americans who were interned, that right after World War II, they purposely, white folks, imported Japanese Americans of higher economic status and higher education level to hide the economic disadvantage that had been levied against Japanese Americans under internment. It's a very convoluted point, I know, but the point being that they try to hide how much they robbed Japanese Americans by bringing in ones that are rich, and then just saying all the numbers is the same, right? And it still didn't work enough because the Japanese were paid reparations in the 1980s under a Republican president. I do want to bring up the difference between income and generational wealth, because I think sometimes we get caught down in the quicksand of income, when, as a reparationist and as someone who descended from those who built the country, we're looking at the great wealth transfer that white folks about to get from stolen land and our unpaid wages. That's calculated at about $80 trillion. So sometimes I sit back and think about, like, where are we at in the conversation when we're talking about the 1.8 $8 trillion in buying power or whatever. Like, the land that we're owed and the generational wealth that we were denied is not even shouldn't even be in the same conversation or of comparison with people who just got here. And I feel like they don't have enough humanitarian humility to appreciate that nuanced point, right? Uh, um, the last thing I'm gonna say is this: they, I think I'll pass mic on that. I appreciate y'all for having this space.
Oh, you were making perfect sense, Cash, and you were flowing. But yeah, it is what the bottom line that we need to keep in mind is that Captain James Oglethorpe came up with a tactic of immigration as warfare. Um, to America, and in the dominant society, the system of white supremacy still utilizes that tactic with certain groups. And there are certain groups. Certain groups are rioters. We have certain groups that are, our allies. But where we have to get first thing we have to do is delineate which what we're doing, and the second thing we need to do is to identify allies. For some reason, foundational Black Americans, and this is going to be hard to hear, but I'm, y'all family, and I got to be hard on us. We can't, like Wani said, we need a booster shot. But sometimes you need a booster shot, sometimes you need ice cream, and sometimes you need a swift kick in your ass. Um, so let me give the swift kick in the ass right quick. For some reason, we've been always been fooled. Well, no, not always. That's a strong term. We have a history of being tricked, but being fooled by people seeming nice. You know what I'm saying? Tariq said something about white supremacy having a smile on their face, like, "Hey, how you doing?" We need to look past the smile and look at the logic. We do have writers. We have members of the diaspora who are just down like a motherfucker for us. But we also have to acknowledge that we do have people from other parts of the diaspora who have a very long history of being anti-Black American, like Nigeria. You know, um, just being logically identifying our allies. And I'm gonna close on this. We need to look for strategic alliances. Find an enemy of my enemy, and I found a friend. So find out who our enemies. Who's the enemy of our enemy? Have you ever begged that question? Who isn't who?
We
What's the
tried.
answer, one?
I tried to team up with the Fulani herdsman because he had
Fulani.
machetes.
Oh, I ride for the Fulani. I got Fulani students. Oh, I missed that last part. What'd you say? One?
No, never mind. I said we had a Fulani appreciation room because we knew that Nigerians don't like them. They're the ones that ride down there and remove their heads and tuck them nicely under their arms. They're very organized people, but they
Well,
wouldn't remove your head.
I've told Wani this before. I had a Fulani, and I gotta email her. She's so cool. One of my students was Fulani, and she kind of brought me into the world of her parents and stuff. They kind of took me up under their wing. The Fulani are cool. It's something about the Fulani that remind me of Black Americans. They look like us, and they act like us. They don't take no shit.
They're
You know,
nomadic. They have a nomadic admixture, so they don't look as, you know, tribey. I mean, they look like everything.
Across 27 nations, in my understanding of the concept.
Wow, Cash. I didn't even bother to count.
27 nations. Wow.
You have the whole southern Sahara, like all the way across that band.
Mm-hmm.
I understand.
Very interesting. I'm going to actually look that up because I keep just picturing them going from east to west toward the north. But that's probably not just their range. They probably get around, like you say.
Right. Um, Cash, did you want to land your plane? I don't know. I didn't know if you were finished earlier.
I didn't want to ramble the stage, but I do have 4 more points if you could swing back around to me, respectfully.
Okay.
On charity, because Won't mentioned charity. Yeah, we have a couple points to speak to.
Okay. You can go ahead and get them out because you were talking, and you.
All right, real quick then.
Yeah.
The real point I was trying to make is after 400 years of us building this country, I don't understand how they can come here and say we the same. They know that they're competing against us in education, in employment, in housing. But after 400 years, they know that there shouldn't be a competition. We should be the ones employing them, housing them. Like that's a very obvious, uh, um, like I don't know. Like to me, they should be able to look at that and see that there's a problem there. um, April in a previous conversation, because there was a dude that came up on stage. He said that he was from the continent. He had moved his whole family to America, and that he did teach his kids to stay away from Black Americans because he fell victim to the media that taught that we were, you know, gang bangers and strippers and stuff like that. And we said that when we was growing up, the only media that they showed us the continent wasn't no cities, nothing like that. It was them with flies on their face. And we, you know, every dinner we would make sure, you know, to respect, like, you make sure you eat all your food, you know what I'm saying? There's starving kids in Africa, like sending money to charities over there and stuff. So the charity was one directional. When he came over here, he fell victim to the media, but we didn't fall victim to it. We appreciated them and the connection that we had, or we so-called believe we had. But now we see what it really was. It was a one directional transfer, and it still is. Um, I pinned up above a video that's about people in New York who are recent migrants who would be Black/African American under our racial construct. And they're arguing that the ESL programs need to be extended for the different distinctions of dialects that they have. In my understanding, there's 4,000 different languages on the continent, first and foremost. But they want ESL to be able to speak to their different dialects uniquely. And as I was watching this video and couldn't understand the people who were even answering the question of this lady who were sitting on the panel who were migrants, right? I couldn't understand the lady speaking to them, and I couldn't understand the conversation. At the point, this is happening in America, and it just made me think: are our literacy rates affected by their two-parent households not speaking English at home?
Yes.
You know what I'm
We've
saying?
been
Like,
drugged backwards by notably Mexicans
Well,
and everybody
well,
else.
No,
I'm
he's saying
on.
that they count against our numbers overall.
exactly. And my
Somebody was
last point is divide and conquer is something I think we should employ more than trying to find an enemy of our enemy. I think letting them compete against each other and us coming in to clean up the pieces has been more viable for us historically. But I'm open to critique.
Oh no, I agree with you, Cash, and I think that a lot of the boomer class administrators, y'all would be really dumbfounded to find out how much baby boomer administrators at historically Black colleges perpetuate and keep this stuff going. I don't even know why they. Honestly, I think they think that it's cute. By
Mhm.
from my proximity to them, they think it's really cute to like undermine Black children. Maybe they hate their own children. I
Mhm.
don't know. I
They
don't know what
do.
it is.
I wanted
That's the impression I get.
I wanted to say an additional thing. I find it interesting that, and it also proves that they're not as intelligent because we've heard tons of rhetoric about Africans and we didn't believe it. We kept reaching out, we kept looking up their history, we uncovered the golden age of Africa, we bigged them up. Yes, we did fabricate a backstory for them, the Kufi, the Dashiki, one language. I mean, they have 4,000 languages, as been already stated, and they don't just have one, and they don't all wear dashikis and Kufis, but we made that persona up, and then we, bigged it up basically. We um we were the ones posting all of those stories about Africa, everything good about Africa, even though it was detrimental to us. We talked about it. Mansa Musa, Queen Nzinga, who had no problem selling slaves and being involved in the slave trade just as long as it wasn't her group. But we didn't read that part, did we? We only said that she was fighting the Portuguese against being enslaved. So we blackwashed all of their stories and ignored all the slavery and said it was all someone else's fault. We did all of that for them because we didn't believe the negative press and propaganda about them, but they just gobbled up negative press and propaganda about us with no pushback. That's the difference. There's a lack of intelligence, and there's really nothing you can do about it because basically what they've told us is they don't know any better. When will they know any better? Because right now, uh, they don't know any better about people being enslaved because They have 40,000 Congolese children in cobalt mines, and I'm not even counting the ones that they have on these plantations. I'm not counting the people that they just sold into slavery up in North Africa. I'm only counting the 40,000 because they're easy to count and you can see them with your own eyes. You can't see some woman being beaten in some Libyan home as easily as you can see little boys, wading through all these minerals and not getting paid. They're doing that now. So they have a bad reputation. They're doing everything that we heard about them doing, but we still try to defend them. And we still give them this excuse that, oh, they don't know any better. When will they know any better? Because at this point, they're on internet attacking us with the same violence that they used to genocide millions of people. All of that violence is coming out on us as we're some kind of virtual tribe that they have to get at. And it's dangerous. It's literally dangerous. And that's basically where I'm at. If we've defended them, we have fought National Geographic, we have fought all kinds of cartoons that depicted Africans as looking stupid or savage. And they come over here and join in on white supremacy, just like these other people that have hopes and dreams of being white supremacists.
Well, Wani, it's interesting you brought up Queen Nzinga because I was looking over a destruction of black civilization for Chancellor Williams when you said it's almost a little synchronicity. Um, According to Dr. Chancellor Williams, quote, Queen Nzinga said that the real savages in Africa were the whites. Was that true? Dr. Williams says they created conditions that brought her to the fore. The Portuguese were so aggressive in their program of dividing the blacks and keeping them fighting amongst themselves that they overshot the mark and simply went too far. Williams further posits, quote, chiefs failing to secure the required number of slaves were themselves enslaved. Why did I bring that up? I brought that up because earlier in our conversation on this space, I thought about why diasporic members of West Africa use these European tactics on us of trying to undermine us and destroying us and making fun of us. And it dawned on me that um, that violence perpetuates violence, and if you're in a situation, you can adapt the tactics and personality of the abuser, and that's why I sought out Chancellor Williams' book because I wanted to have something to back my theory up with. My theory is that the West Africa was so colonized. When I went to West Africa, that's the first thing I told Wani this. That's the first thing I noticed. It shocked me. I thought that America, especially Alabama, my home state, and Mississippi, my border state, it can't get more worse than that. You know what I'm saying? You literally got streets called colonial, right? But I was wrong. West Africa is the most colonized place I've ever seen, and I've been to a lot of places in this world. So what am I trying to say? I'm saying I'm not trying to do anything. I'm saying that in my professional opinion, um, portions of West Africa are so colonized that members of the culture in West Africa adopted colonial views towards other African people, melanated people. And that's proof in Chancellor Williams' book when he said, chiefs failing to secure the required number of slaves from themselves enslaved, they adopted the personality and actions and protocols of the Portuguese. And they're using them on us at our historically black colleges.
Mm.
I don't know if it was the black or no taxation. Who
Yeah,
do you think it was, Nikki
I
Warner?
think it was the black.
Go ahead, the black.
No taxation can go, ladies first, and then she's the elder.
Go ahead, no taxation. Thank you, the black.
He's so kind. Thank you, the black. That's my brother. Everybody mad about it, black. They don't want me to have no more brothers. That's what it is. Don't pay no attention, folk. They mad because you the newest one on the block, and I done said you was okay, and that's what it is. And he could go wherever he wants to because he's teaching folks. And so that's what that is. Leave the workers alone. That's my motto. Leave the workers alone. Hey, Professor Nikki and Wani, I hope y'all doing okay.
Hey, no taxation.
Hi. Hey, sister. How you doing?
Moving slow, but doing. Cash reminded me of a story. You know, I had to take one of them to task. I had an Indian professor in psychology. I think it was part of my undergrad. I don't know what it was, but I needed a class summertime in Alabama professor. You know, I was already mad because, well, the life story is that I don't like school. Never have, unless it's like this. I like these kind of classes, but I don't like those ones on the campus and stuff. I ain't really with them. But I had to get those degrees, and one of them professors was an Indian, and Lord have mercy. So she said she did her whole thing and talked and did her lectures and stuff, and I didn't pay no attention. I'm sitting in the back, skinning and grinning and laughing and joking because I don't even want to be here. And so then you had to write a paper. So that's when I started paying attention because, see, I had a high GPA and I'm a good writer. And so she talked talking about the eagle and the eagle. I said to myself, why does she keep talking about this? I ain't paying no attention. So when it came time to write the paper, I did research on the psychology of the eagle. New information, I didn't know it. I turned my paper in. She sent it back with a big fat F on it. Boy, when I tell you, I don't... See, my father told me I can't make anything less than a B in school because I'm not mediocre and I'm not a failure. So getting that F I was mad about it. And so I took her to task. I talked to her during office hours, professor, and I told her, why did you put an F on my paper? She said, why did you write about the eagle? I said, because you talked about the eagle. She said, no, I talked about the ego. I said, well, I can't understand the word you saying because I thought you was talking about the ego. I said, well, I'll rewrite it. And so I rewrote it. She tried to put a C on there. That's when I took it over there to her boss. I told her boss, I said, listen, she don't even need to be teaching because nobody can understand her. And she got the nerve to try to mess up my GPA. That's how I was in there, professor. You know, black hands on my hip, neck rolled and everything. And so they fixed it and put my GPA back together like it was supposed to be. So yeah, Cash, I feel the same way. They ain't got no business over here trying to teach us nothing, and we can't understand them. And I'm gonna leave it there, Professor, and go out here, run out here, and take my dog
I,
outside.
no taxation. I keep and scholars. I keep saying that I'm a toy with the idea of this, but next historically black college I work at, because I'm sure that wasn't my last one. I'm gonna start an advocacy group for our children because what ends up happening is we have a lot of professors in the hard sciences from places that have vitriol towards black children in general, and they gatekeep the grades. You hear over and over again professors in chemistry and biology, well, mainly chemistry and physics and biochem, saying I only give a certain amount of A's. That shit should be illegal. If your whole class makes an A, give them all a fucking A. I've had a college lecture where the majority of my students made A's. I didn't give them anything. They all earned them because they checked the boxes on my syllabus. So we need an audit. We need to audit these professors because what I...
That's right, and we need to teach our children how to fight for their grade.
Oh
See,
yeah,
I was an adult learner. I went to
right.
one class, and she was teaching APA writing. This is something that every psychologist, if you plan on getting a bachelor's, I don't care if it's arts or science in psychology, you have to know AP, how to write APA.
I like APA better.
Where you can understand it better. But but when I got there and took the class, it was 4 black girls. All of them were sitting over there by the door, and the white girls were sitting on the other side of the room. And she was talking about what I don't know, and she did that shit for about 2 or 3 classes. Finally, I sent her an email because I found out every single one of them black girls had failed her class. One of them is in there the 3rd time. The
Wow.
girl me, she said, "Have you taken this class before?" I said, "No, this is my first time." She said, "You'll be back." I said, "Why you say that?" She said, "Because all the black people fail this class at least once." I said, "Not me. I won't be back." And
Wow.
that's what happened. Yeah, I had to get her out of there. That's why they didn't like me, but that's why they loved me. Being black is a double-edged sword.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No doubt. Um, let's see. Go ahead, the black.
What's going on, Professor
What's
Nikki?
up, brother?
Hope everybody else is doing great today on this little Monday. Uh, what it's starting to look like to me is these generational divides, and we are in a rare era where we have multiple generations still alive.
Right.
So we can actually go to the source to some of these generations and get their point of view of how society was structured and the adversities they was going to, and compare it to the ones that we are going through today. And through all of them, the similarities is one constant: people having outsiders or just people within the American construct having anti-black sentiment, and us being the humanitarians and the sympathetic people that we are, knowing the and understanding what pain and suffering actually is, we continue to make this one mistake of giving people the benefit of the doubt, whether they're within our own group or outside, and trying to be an ally. And that's one mistake that I see, because when it comes to the answer of the title of the room, is the diaspora more successful than the FBA? There's no proof in the pudding that they are, because when we bring somebody within the fold, they in they're an ally. They really are an ally, and they actually become one of us, and we ingrain our spirit within them people. So I look at a lot of allies throughout time, whether they was white or black, because most of them, when they became an ally, they actually folded in within the culture, and like they married in the culture and everything. That's how much they was an ally, and they was willing to put their life on the line, like just like one of us would. So the propaganda over the years have put it where when people do come over here, they do have that bias, and they're scared to be involved with us, because they know we are the liberators. Because that's one thing about history that they can't deny. Everywhere they go, you gonna hear about a Black American doing something great. We are what brought people to America, because they sent Louis Armstrong around the world, play the trumpet. Uh, and everything. They sent people around the world to sing in operas and dance and show our culture, because we was the humanitarian chain link to the rest of the world. Because when people looked at American history, they knew, hey, they did bad things to Negroes. So they had to send out Negroes to say, no, we are a welcoming country. So they can get them foreign dollars, because that's the whole construct of world politics, is all about monetary value and what you can trade. So even though we being a rich in resources and mineral country, we found it that it was more so-called beneficial to America if we just siphon resources from other people, because they wanted to keep us out the market. That was the whole point. You can't have no black people owning no oil in Oklahoma. That's why you gotta burn that town down. You can't have no planters and people owning farms in the deep south. So you gotta demonize watermelon and make certain tropes about chicken. Everybody like chicken. So you can make the young man feel bad about making a chicken farm and putting some money to the side and actually buying more land, and us being business entrepreneurs. So it's it's psychology on multiple levels. And now that we starting to understand that it's no more tricks that they can actually throw at us. Is nothing new under the sun. We have finally realized that, and we can go to the caustic record and actually see and go back and debunk their lies, as they like to say on the liberal news. It's no more fake news because they can't fabricate nothing. They trying their best to perfect AI so they can trick people more. But
I think so, Cash Game. But we were talking about this yesterday. Thank you, sir, for bringing that up. I think that, and I'm not trying to steal your thunder. Or I'm just gonna be real quick.
you good, Professor.
I,
You the teacher.
brother, I know. I'm just saying, like, our sister Wani brought to my attention AI months ago, and I'm hard headed as fuck, man. I don't like, I'm stubborn. I like my way. I do things my way. I'm getting in trouble now, and because I like for my students to actually type out papers and print them out, but they want to push, being save the environment and send emails. I don't want to do that, but I'm just saying I'm kind of that type of dude. But I finally caved last week with AI and did some research in the class with AI. And AI straight up lied, man. And I just to piggyback off what you're saying, I don't see any other reason for AI to lie than it's trying to do exactly what you were saying, man. But continue.
I mean, they have to, cause, and funny enough, I was arguing with AI today,
I'm
and
glad I'm
motherfucker
not
just,
the only one.
hey, it got to the point where they told me move on to the next subject. They can't even talk
What?
about this. Yeah, it
What?
got that serious.
You
Yeah,
got dismissed?
yeah,
Wow.
they told me move on.
What were
and,
you
and I kept on
asking?
pressing. I kept on asking the question. They like, let's move on to the next subject. I can't talk
What?
about. I'm like, okay, is that serious?
Wow.
That
Because
sounds like
I
an
was
angry
asking.
white teacher. That
Oh
sounds like an
Yeah,
angry white
my God.
teacher.
that's the first thing that I thought about. I'm like, man, it reminded me of my social studies teacher in the ninth grade. She was a white lady, and
Did,
I always used to challenge her about certain parts of history, and she didn't like that. And I always used to fail her class,
did
but I ain't
you
give a fuck.
did they give you a violation?
Huh?
Did they give you a violation?
No, it just kept on telling me ask another question.
Oh my
It told me
goodness.
move. You can't talk about this certain subject because I was asking about sundown towns and in the correlation of towns being flooded during the WPA, the work the
Wow.
when they was in the CCC, and it kept on telling me to move on to another subject, and I felt that very strange. But it's a reason because like back then you actually had to search for the source, and us, but and I'm glad that you said something about the AI and you being old school, and it make me it remind me of one of the old videos I used to watch of Francis Chris Wilson and about like the mental calculator. Our brain is the computer. Our, our brain makes everything. So if you don't exercise it or you don't use it, yeah, you're gonna fall victim to all type of propaganda. So if you're not seeking knowledge, then of course you gonna believe anything, and that's where I I understand like the frustration Mikhail have sometimes when it's people talking about ancient history, but actually haven't been to these places to learn from the sources. And I understand where Wani come from sometimes, because when you actually went did the footwork and the actual, you know what I'm saying, adventuring and going to see it from the mouth of the people and the people who are involved in it, that's their culture, you understand it better and you can compare it better. That's the whole point of at the populace. Like that's the whole point of actually doing the field work. And a lot of our people haven't actually did the field work. They done did the YouTube TV work. And they battling these intellects and these actual real scholars and the armchair scholars that they used to have back in the day. Because most of these books was wrote by armchair scholars that never actually went to Africa until people actually start going to Africa, challenging the old scholars. So it's so much correlation between these different generations, and yeah, they trying to hide the real secrets. That's why they don't want us to go to these white universities, and that was the whole reason for our people being to be able to go to these universities to get the knowledge and the secrets that they was hiding and put it in our schools and have our own copies of it. But we got away from that mindset, and thinking that, hey, now I'm part of this sorority, I'm part of this new community that's integrated. It made our people say fuck it. You know what I'm saying? What my parents was talking about was horse shit. They they didn't know they were talking about because they were uneducated and they the source. We went away from the source. And the generational divide in each other generation, the grandchildren going see are raised under the source. So we feel like, yeah, our parents tripping. Y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all going away from the source. And that's the generational divide between like the late 80s and 90s babies with these people that came after the Black Panther generation that got
Right.
caught up within the crack era. Cause that's the in the middle generation, cause like the middle child that always get looked over.
Right.
So
Right.
we the generation of the middle child that's trying to correct everything and show that we not really the black sheep. We the thinkers and the people that progress everything.
To add to that, yeah, and the baby boomers will not leave their jobs. But I appreciate that. The black that was a lot of good points. I think Black Truth was it Black Truth or Mr. X next? You remember Wani?
I don't remember. Sorry.
We're gonna go with Black Truth.
Yeah, I was gonna just tell you Black Truth. Black Truth.
Hey everyone, salute Professor Allen, Sister Nikki, Sister Wani. I just wanted to weigh in on the topic of the room. So, is the diaspora more successful than FBAs? And that's a resounding no. They're fleeing this way. They're coming here to get the success that they have. They're not successful in their homelands. And if you think about it, wherever we go, success follows. So when we started turning up in here in the US, we changed the tide in South Africa. We helped them in Ethiopia. We attempted to help them out in Liberia and a few other parts, but they had a whole system to smother that out. But yeah, wherever we go, there's a level of success. And I put something in the jumbotron. I put this in there yesterday, but I wasn't able to comment on it because I had to do something else. But the Africans sold us for 40 of us for one umbrella. So you can watch that video.
Wow.
You know, it's literally still up there. I believe it's in Nigeria. Is it Lagos? I think it's Lagos, Nigeria. Give me 1 second just to see. Yes, the city of Badagry, Lagos, Nigeria. Yeah. Yep. They
40,
sold us.
40 people for an umbrella.
Yep. 40 people for one umbrella. So to tell us that we're somehow,
Jesus.
but behind them and in any intellectual prowess or any type of innovation or success is completely false. And they go off of, hey, we make more money per household, we have more education or this or that. And when you look at the statistics, they're not accounting for the number of people per household, and they're also not accounting for, okay, what happens after one generation of them being here, because a lot of them who come over legally come with money, as someone else mentioned in this space. They they're not from the poor parts of Africa, and you have to ask yourself, well, where did they get this money from? Could it be that they were involved in this very same slave trade? But anyway, I just wanted to bring some of those points up, and it's clear that they're not more successful than FBAs. With that, all
Well,
land.
well, life is not without irony. Black Truth and Associates. Um, I want to support what Black Truth just said. Earlier, I brought up the doctrine of unequal exchange. The doctrine of unequal exchange, if I may just put it in layman's terms, was what Black Truth was talking about. 40 people for an umbrella, just stupid shit, man. In West Africa, the tribal chiefs were into showing the fuck off. And the irony of it is it came back to bite them in the ass. Selling 40 people for one umbrella, in their mind's eye, they view that as I'm so rich that I'm gonna give you an abundance. You see what I'm saying? They saw it that way. They saw it as kind of like the um glass half full. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm so wealthy, I don't even need these people. I'm gonna sell them to you for, give me a broken piece of glass, I'll give you 20 people. And the European was like, well shit, you an idiot, I'm just gonna fuck you over. Dr. Claude Anderson really sums it up when he says, quote, the self-destructive attitudes of the tribal chiefs have yet to be fully explained or understood. Isn't that powerful? He said they were so self-destructive, that shit ain't even been explained yet. I love Claude Anderson. Claude Anderson further says, but historian Norman Combs offered one explanation as to why the chiefs so willingly traded their valuable resources to European and Arab traders. According to Combs, tribal chiefs willingly participated in such questionable trade practices because West African economies were subsistence based and therefore were satisfied with the status quo and saw no need to accumulate wealth and power. Basically, they had everything they needed, which makes sense because Africa's a rich continent. All the food you need, all the diamond, bauxite, manganese. To quote Dr. John Henry Clark, they have everything they want. They had everything but fucking common sense. They had everything but leadership.
So just remember that they were getting 40 people and then they were going across the ocean and selling those people for no less than $300,
Hello.
nearly $1,000. So they got $40,000 worth of merchandise for an umbrella, and they got more than 40 people. They were sold in lots of 40. That's just a lot. So
Wow.
40 for an umbrella, 40 for a broken mirror, and just imagine if someone was selling something. Now that's not even the going rate for livestock like oxen. And I know that they know the price of human beings because that's what they were in business for. So they said that one of the reasons they were selling people in lots of 40 or in these big bulks is because it was people they wanted to get rid of. And they did have to take care of you when you were in those dungeons. And they did kill people that the European didn't want. So if they drug someone out of the dungeon and the person looked sickly, if the European said no, I don't want that one, they would kill him right on the spot. So I know they didn't want to take care of them. And got
Jeez.
so bad that the Europeans were frightened to say, I don't want that person. So they took all the sickly people and everybody because they didn't want the head lopped off in their face. So when you scare Europeans who kick babies' heads off, then you're doing something. You're really hitting the heights.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Black Truth
Oh,
wanted to continue with what he was
oh,
saying.
go ahead, Black Truth. Land you playing Black Truth.
Yeah, just wanted to land on this real quick. Professor Black Truth recently dropped a video regarding Dr. Khalid Muhammad, and I remember a clip. You'll have to dig for it. It's one of those that they like to scrub from the internet, but he is talking regarding the topic of reparations, and some tether was there asking if they were going to get reparations. It was an African tether. And Dr. Khalid Muhammad went into how when he went over to Africa, he was confronted by people who were showing off to him about this land and this house and this wealth, and they were bragging that they kept this wealth from generation to generation based on the slave trade. So again, there's a lot of dirty hands in our oppression, and a lot of them still have that type of, the proceeds from that wealth still remain today. And I think some of these people are the very same ones coming over here, taking spots up at HBCUs, like you all have talked about, and taking spots up in the Congressional Coon Caucus, and taking spots up in all types of positions that we can't get. These are the same slave trading folk who have kept that wealth in their family from generation to generation. So just wanted to land there.
Excellent points. The uh, Black Truth, and I wanted to kind of follow you up, and I'll shut my mouth on with Dr. Claude Anderson. He says, "quote True or not, white traders took advantage of the tribal chiefs' generosities. Dr. Anderson further says, quote, this self-destructive tribalism, self-enslavement, and lack of concern for wealth were interpreted by Europeans as signs of inferiority. They believed these uncivilized, childlike heathens neither appreciated nor deserved their God-given wealth. So that what does that mean? That means that basically this showing off, like I said earlier, it backfired on them. This showing off and this showing disrespect and disregard for our ancestors backfired on them with Europeans. Now, let's go full circle on that. That is why, in my opinion, that is my theory why when they get over here, they put on a show of I'm more successful, I have more degrees than you, because deep down there's knowledge of what I just read you. Mr. X, you're up. What's on your mind?
Peace to the room. And thank you to the panel. Just want to say I'm grateful for each and every one of y'all. I just kind of wanted to address the topic of the room and to answer no, they are not more successful, and they're really just an extension of the immigrant policy that the United States has used against us throughout history. Throughout history, they've imported immigrants in order to separate the Anglos from us. And I feel like they do that intentionally to try to bury us in our history because we remind them of their true nature, their horrible past, and today they try to cover it up with glitter and gold, right? So yeah, I mean, throughout history, like they would bring immigrants over here. And like, for instance, like right before the Civil War, the immigrants didn't want the slaves to be freed because they were the poor whites. They were the working class whites. And they viewed the slave labor as potential competition. So they have the immigrant class has always been an active adversary for us. Yeah, like even today, like how they pick the immigrants to come into the country, they vet their mindset. Um, and we are going against people who come here with a disdain towards us, and they're selecting, they're carefully selecting the best people. They're selecting people that already come over here with trades, with businesses, or with connections to build businesses. Especially when you talk about legal immigration. So when you look at like these statistics or whatever, that is their best. If you go to their country and you look at the totality of their people, they are no competition to us. But they select the best of the immigrants, and then they use that in order to further push the narrative that we're in this position because we're inferior, and um to just lower our self worth or our self confidence. It's all propaganda. Um, and yeah, as far as like the AI thing, I wanted to talk about the AI thing, and I just wanted to say, especially when you look at like, for example, Blade Runner, and how the future is going to go towards robots being the new slaves, or at least that's what's being predicted. When they have For example, patrol cars or like police officers that have this racist AI embedded into them with these racist FBI statistics. I feel like that's going to be very dangerous if we don't get on top of that pretty soon. So we're going to need some people to get into that field. But yeah, that's all I have for now.
Yeah, it's getting real dangerous. I saw surprisingly, I thought it was about $1,000, but it was a $80 vacuum, like a vacuum cleaner robot that went through the house and just mapped out the whole house, mapped out where shoes were. It was just getting a grid. And I thought back to my days as aerospace education officer, and I was like, man, if $100 robot can do that, man, it's only a matter of time. Like we're going into some dangerous times, ladies and gentlemen. But back to the gentleman's point, I want to back up what he said with scholarship. Dr. Claude Anderson says, as a matter of fact, ethnic and racial immigrants historically have been a wedge between whites and blacks, giving whites an alternatives to interacting with blacks. So I know it's kind of hard, black people to deal with, to understand, like to deal with this. Like, wow, why are they're throwing all these arsenals, all these weapons at us? But if we just sit back and just take emotion out of it, it's not as complicated as it seems. It's the same attack over and over and over again. It's Captain Oglethorpe's attack. So our job then becomes to logically figure out a counter to these attacks. Remember, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said that the world is a chessboard, and in chess, the white piece goes first, and the white chess piece plays what? Offense, defense. Um, so just anyway, fire Nagy. Let's go.
All right, I want to flip the consensus on his head real fast. And I want to throw some game theory at you, Professor Allen, and you, Wani Spots. What if the entire premise by which we're looking at this, and let's use game theory here, is from the wrong premise? What if the premise of success, we're defining it too narrowly, and we're looking at success as power and as wealth, relative to the other groups, as opposed to survival? And what I mean by that is that India is often discussed as having a population dividend, meaning that in the future, there are going to be so many Indians that every Western nation that exists now that's having a population decline will have to use immigration, and they'll have to have immigrants coming from India. Those immigrants will be replacing their population and will spread out, kind of like what the Europeans did in the age of exploration, as they call it. They didn't throw out the best Europeans, they threw out second sons. And those Europeans ended up populating Australia and the Americas. So, what if success, by the way we define it, is too narrow? What if ultimately the goal of the Africans is just to outnumber us? And in that game theory, they win. I'll leave it up to you guys. I want you guys to debate that.
I don't know. That would be.
That's the only power that they have is their uterus. That's the power that the Mexican has here.
But they
But
usually it's a lot of them coming.
okay, but the problem is they don't have any value. There's already a whole bunch of them, and look what they're doing over there. There's 1.3 billion Africans, and they don't have any power. They're asking us to help them. Why don't they help themselves? They have a huge population that has no voice. No one wants to hear anything they have to say. And
But
that's a
if
good
ultimately
idea.
if they outnumber us all and they just kind of immigrate outward,
Mhm.
wouldn't that be an ultimate victory in the end? Because they'll kind of just wash us away with their sheer numbers.
Well, if people keep
It's a
having their
good point.
children, yeah, if people keep having their children, that will be it. It's on them. If they want to keep having their children, then there won't be any secret sauce DNA. There won't be any track stars popping up in Italy because they have an Italian father and they're half Black American. That will go away. They are not a replacement for us. I heard an African woman say, "Don't you want us to come over here? We can make more." No, you can't. You, Nigerian lady, can't make anything but another Nigerian. And that's not what people want. People want something good. There's already tons of Nigerians and they're not doing anything except running from themselves. Why would I want more people that will want to run from themselves? Then this will be Nigeria. What are they running from? There's nothing wrong with land on earth. Every place is beautiful. Every place is beautiful. There's something about every place that's beautiful, but the ugly thing in these places is the people. The nasty, unproductive, horrible, murderous people.
That's what Carl Jung said.
So if you're running and you don't like where you came from, you're running from yourself.
Well, let me give another perspective on it, Fire Nagi. I think you're onto something. Well, I don't think, I know you are. Let's look at history. Let's look at other jurisdictions. Let's look at Minnesota. Should a group of, let's just say Nigerians, for the sake of argument, come to Atlanta and play, and the scenario you brought up play out, they could create a, 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 a voting base to install maybe a congressman, and then you could have like a Nigerian Ilhan Omar. You see the danger in that?
100%, and that's the point I'm getting at is that maybe we're playing a different game than what they're playing. Because every time I talk to an African, they laugh at me and they say, I'll say, how many kids you got? They'll say 8, and they're all American. Ha 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 ha. And that's just, I'm like, huh. I wonder why you're laughing. And they kind of know that this is what they do in tribal warfare, and this is what they do when they commit genocide against each other. They will, grape. I don't want to use it on each other's women and impregnate their women with one of their offspring because they want to eliminate that tribe. They know it's a numbers
Wow,
game.
that's wild. I never thought of it that
And
way.
unfortunately for them, it's not a numbers game. That's the problem. We can have billions of Mexicans and no one's going to play mariachi. They don't have anything for it. Like they're just people. They're not doing anything. Okay, that's the
The whole
problem with
motherfucking
them.
state you live in.
Hmm. That was very muffled.
Yeah, no
It was
taxation. I
me
didn't hear it.
talking. No, I was talking to my dog. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they don't have anything. Like I said, every time I say, "What is your culture?" There's nothing there. It's a big empty bag of wind. So there's nothing that they're going to bring in here and make everyone do it. They can come here in the billions and nobody's going to eat fufu. Nobody's going to want to listen to Afro beats. Everything they do, they have to tip our heads back, put a funnel down our throats, and pour Cynthia Revo and fufu balls down our neck. That's the only way they can do it. And we still just cough it up. We still just throw it up because it's nothing there. There's nothing. Believe me, if somebody had something to offer, we'd already know about it. That's why people went to India and they said, "Oh, look, this is cool. Look at this yoga. Look at this meditation. This is really cool." That's why people went over to different Asian countries. "Oh, look at this kung fu. Oh, wow. Look at these martial arts." Everybody was kung fu fighting over here for a while. You may have missed that era, but I didn't. And the reason that it was here was because it was cool. And we know it's cool and we know it's not cool. And they don't have anything over there that's going to set the world on fire culturally and bring it over here. The only thing that they do have is one lame music genre that we created, that James Brown created for Fela Kuti, and it's documented the whole experience. He came over here, had a girlfriend, hung out with James Brown, and they wrote a book about how, guess what? Afrobeat was created. That's all they have. Okay? They're culturally, socially invisible. Most people are socially invisible, and that's why they don't like us. Even white people are socially invisible. Nobody looks at them. They have to be extraordinarily attractive or something to get attention. They are boring. That's what the problem is. We get a lot of attention. We have that je ne sais quoi. We get a lot of attention and people don't like it. The rest of these people are just a mass walking down the street. You don't even look up. And they
Bless
don't
you.
like that. They don't like that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But Fire Nagy brought up a really, actually, a very dangerous point that we need to kind of take heed to. We're looking at a form of warfare, and if enough people create a voting block, you got a congressman, and you got a U.S. congressman that has a lot of power to, you know, create programs in favor of, their group, and more money is taken out of the hands of foundational Black Americans. So we need to watch that one. That's a good point, Fire Nagy. Now I see Dick Dastard throwing down a bunch of thumbs down. You want to bring him up and see what he talking about?
Are they yellow thumbs?
They're yellow thumbs. Yes, the
Bring
thumbs
them.
are yellow.
Bring them on up.
Let's see this. Let's see what you got to say. What do we say? Hop on. Hop on, Dick. What you got to say, man?
Is that your real face?
No, it's not my
Come
real
on, Dick.
face.
What you got to say?
I don't. I want to
Yes.
be
He's
respectful.
from Nigeria.
Hi
Yes.
guys.
You
Yeah, I
Nigerian?
very much Nigerian.
Oh,
Ew. Why do
oh
you have
Lord.
Dick Dastardly? Ugh.
It's
Do we
cause
have to, y'all? Do we just really have to?
Yes.
Oh
I'm
God, I'm
I'm
gonna turn
trying
it down.
my
I'll
best.
be back.
Can I don't like the interruptions, so I'm trying my best to not be rude on the
Nobody give a
space.
damn about you and what you like or don't like, honey.
What is he saying?
I said I'm trying my best
Nothing
to.
important, Wani. He's not saying anything important.
I just
Trust.
want to hear
He
it from
said he was Nigerian. Europeans call them the roaches of the world, y'all.
um
And they are.
sir, you're being roasted
I
and I
am.
didn't even say anything. I want credit for being good.
I
Let's
want
hear
to
him
be
out,
as.
ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear him out.
I want to be as respectful as possible
So,
and not throw
Mr.
down.
Dick, I got a question for you. Let's stick to the topic. Is Diaspora more successful than FBA?
Um, I can't really say. Um, but I want to just clear the air regarding the misinformation that has been flying around.
Mhm.
I I want to maybe give shed more light. Maybe you guys have like a certain angle that you look at it from based on mainstream media that's being fed onto you.
Mhm.
So I want to probably give you a different side that you can take
Go
home and
ahead.
probably
Go
study on.
ahead. We'd like to hear it.
All right. So um I understand the slavery point was very, very valid. I've not heard that angle before where we've sold people for trinkets, especially the number where you guys said
You have
we
a whole
sold.
museum about it. Why don't you go there and find out?
Facts.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Nope.
We have museums, all right? I'm talking about several pieces of information saying that exact numbers of people that were being sold out,
Yeah, it was
all
about
right?
40, a lot. That means
Yeah,
that in groups of 40, not just 40,
yeah.
in groups of
Um,
40. That's standard
so
information from your museum.
yeah, I understand that now. All right. What I'm trying to say is regarding the topic, is the diaspora more successful than the FBA? Mind you, the way the US works as a foundation, as an American, as most Americans are, America is a corporation. It's an imperialist corporation in the sense that you have Caucasian white elite feeding off of this huge continent. All right. The point, most of our railway systems, I will
Which
give
continent?
railway,
You're in Africa, you mean?
pardon? Yes, in
Okay, because
Africa.
they're feeding off of all
Most,
the continents, so you got to be specific.
they are not feeding off of Europe. Europe and
They are.
America,
They're
the
feeding off of
global
Europe.
north.
Hello. That's where they first started feeding. And they're definitely feeding off of the
America,
United States. Okay.
America,
They're
America is not
feeding off of the
feeding.
United States, babe. What are we talking
America
about?
is America is not. You're talking over me. I have not spoken over you.
America is not a white country. That's what your little head is telling you. Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to explain
You
to
can't
you
explain to me
how
what America is. You don't know.
Facts.
So what are you talking about?
I have been to
I
America
live in it. I don't care
Yes,
whether you've been
I've
here.
been, I've visited,
And
I have
therefore, you know,
family.
Well, you know, I've been to Ghana and I've been to Togo. I'm not going to tell them how their country runs. You know, I don't
I'm not
know.
I'm not saying I'm not trying to put it to you how your country works. Yeah. I'm putting it to you what I've experienced
you're
in
in
my
the
country
UK, aren't you?
from pardon? Yes, I am in the
You know,
UK.
what are you talking about? You don't know anything about
Wow.
anything but sipping
Can,
tea.
can
You know how to sip.
I need you
You know how to
I
sip tea, eat beans on toast, and be an armchair babbler. What else do
So,
you know?
hold on. This changes everything, Mister. No, hold on,
can you let me speak?
hold on,
Nope.
Mister. Hold on, Mister Dick. Hold on, Mister Dick. I have a question for you. Why aren't you in Nigeria?
I have left Nigeria due to
What?
various
What?
geopolitical
What?
issues. Various
What?
geopolitical issues. I am going to explain to you if you do not talk over me,
I
please.
can't make promises.
So, for the past, let's say, 5 to 8 years, yeah, we have gone through various political instabilization routes that has been propagated by the US. First of all,
Hold on.
yeah.
What did we do
Oh,
in Nigeria?
Facts.
I need to know about it.
Me too.
I'm
Basic.
trying to I'm
You
trying to
guys are just
explain.
liars.
Eh, eh,
I'm trying to
You
ex-
don't like Nigerians and you got the hell up out of there. And I don't blame you.
And here goes the crazy part, Wani. England is a country that ravaged Nigeria, and where did he run to? He ran to England.
You're not smart.
Yeah, I'm
You
not.
go ahead,
I
dude.
if you let
What
me
kind of tea are
finish,
you sipping right now?
I will continue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm visibly annoyed, but I'll try my best to be as respectful as possible because this is your space I came on. Okay. So back to what I was saying. 5 to 8 years ago, prior to our recent elections in 2019 and 2023, I've been privileged to witness and also participate in election processes. All right. I've been privy in the 2019 election to participate in counting votes and facilitating voter representation or voter processing
Where?
in Nigeria. Okay. And that was like 2 years, a year before I left. All right. I left to the UK in 2020, December 29, 2020. So you can safely say that I understand or I have a conscious awareness of what goes on politically. So in the past 2023 election, yeah, we have disseminated information across different platforms regarding our drug dealing president. You can insult him all you want. This man is someone who we have investigative journalists have been
Okay,
on
I'm bored.
exile.
Next speaker, please.
Yeah, you
Can,
got
I'm
brother,
I'm
You're
trying my best
boring.
to
brother.
explain.
I don't care
You
anymore.
got to cut to the point, man. You talking in circles here.
Okay, all I'm
I
trying to
don't
say
care
is,
about your
oh,
politics. I don't care about the
okay, okay.
UK.
I do not. I know you don't care. The long and short of the story is, this man has been dealing drugs
What
across.
man? I don't care whether he deals drugs.
I'm trying to get to the
I
point
want
with me.
Buhari back.
Okay, just
I like
go
Buhari.
faster.
I like Buhari because he said that you were hated everywhere and no one wanted you to immigrate to their countries because you were in every jail across the world. That's the
Can
president I like. Plus, he's Hausa and his people cut your heads off when you talk. So that's another benefit of his group. Any other questions?
I have no questions. I'm trying to explain to you
Okay.
what's going on. So if
Do
you
you
let me
like
explain,
Falani Herdsman?
I'm not going to respond to that.
Why not?
It's a bit rage bait for me, and I'm not going to deal with your maturity right now.
Okay,
I would
thanks.
continue by saying that, yeah, we have given America, or this has happened in America. This current president has dealt drugs in America.
You've
This
given
information
America
has been passed.
what?
So I'm trying to explain to you that the current president has dealt drugs constantly in America back in the 70s and 80s.
Who and
This man has this man has been defended and shrouded because he's a CIA intelligence
okay,
asset.
great.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So he's being manipulated, just like many other
Okay.
countries and presidents in Africa. They are being manipulated by America, the
All right, I'm gonna give you
imperialist
10 seconds to
government.
land your plane, my friend. Go
This
All
ahead
is
and land
right.
your
dry.
plane in 10
Oh
seconds.
my God.
This is dry.
I'm not going to deal with your ignorance. I'm going to
Why
just leave.
not? I
Because
thought we
there's
were
more.
fun.
Hey, Professor
Go,
AllanH.
go ahead, Cash. He ran away. He fled.
All good. I was gonna say, I've been trying to research, and I could be right or wrong, but in my understanding, first of all, there was the article, my great great grandfather was a Nigerian slave trader, right? Which spoke about how they were trading peoples from multiple different tribes before Europeans got there in mass.
Mm-hmm.
But I was more interested in the part where it said that this great great grandfather, that when he died, that they buried 6 humans alive with him.
Wow.
They
Yeah,
had a
they do
practice of
that.
human. They had a practice of human sacrifice in
Right.
the
They
Igbo
had to
land,
die with him. I've read that before.
right? If you were wealthier, they would kill more. So 6 people died with him, and that got me thinking, like, of 2 things. One is I found a treaty that was. It looks like it was in 1851, but I still got to find it again. This treaty was Europeans forcing Nigerians to stop committing human sacrifice.
Wow.
Right.
Europeans taught Africans to stop committing human sacrifice. That's a L. And then the other thing is, they had a caste system up until 1970, and some would argue till this day in Nigeria, which existed before Europeans got there. And the outcast was someone called the Osu or the Ohu or something like that. And these were people who would have been sold into slavery, but like Wani said earlier, like Europeans didn't want or didn't have certain skills that was in high demand, and so they ended up being enslaved on the continent and continued to be enslaved up until some would say the 1970s. So I'd be trying to ask Nigerians about that. Like, did Europeans force y'all to have a caste system? Did they force y'all to not want to eat from the same bowls as your own people? Those people would have been sold across the waters. They'd have been like us, to tell you the truth.
Right, right. Well, Dr. Snyder in Slavery in America says, quote, the slaves are brought by black traders at fairs, which are held for that purpose, at a distance of upwards of 200 miles from the seacoast. So Africans would go and steal their own people and have fairs. You know how we go to Six Flags to ride rides and eat funnel cakes? They would have parties and sell their relatives. Dr. Snyder says free Africans as a group by no means objective. Enslavement did not offend their moral sense. As far as the record shows, though nobody wanted to be enslaved, only a few Africans protested against the slave trade. That's period. Um, Dr. Snyder further says, quote, the trade not only commercialized the economy and changed the everyday life of the Africans, but it also corrupted them. Allegedly, African kings sold their wives, with whom they were angry. African parents sold children who they could not feed, and desperate Africans sold themselves. It was a complete moral collapse.
Hey, Professor, one last thing before I pass to Mr.
Go
X.
ahead.
The full circle of it, or maybe the timeline finally making a full connection to me, is that back then, and even before Europeans got there, Mansa Musa, the richest person of all history, was rich off of slavery, right? So we could even start the timeline there. But just the fact that white folks get there and it wasn't a kidnapping, it was a conscious sale of people across the ocean. And now those same people, like, for example, David Oyelowo, the actor who played as Martin Luther King Jr. In Selma, he tweeted saying that he knows he comes from a slave trading family, and he wonders if his family might have been the same ones that sold Martin Luther King Jr.'s family into slavery across the Americas. Now, he's just thinking out loud, But the truth is, those families who owned the ports during slavery still own them to this day, right? They're still trying to make money off of tourism from people. And there are people who are of higher wealth status who come to America, know that they're, like I said, cosplaying as us and really playing defense for the same people whose ancestors, like I said, sold us and were cool with those white folks in our oppression. So I don't know if white supremacy is the best phrasing to use for what this alliance against us was. Instead, maybe it was like the human traffickers of the planet, or I don't know, the trafficker supremacists or something, because they did it to such a level where, you know what I'm saying, all the Americas was affected. But I just want to make it clear, like, it wasn't just back then and now it's different. It looks like the same people who were making money off of our oppression then are playing defense for those white folks now, and trying to benefit off the money we was robbed of, trying to make that dollar. Let me say it simply, one last way. Like, we got robbed. And instead of people coming over and saying, yo, pay them people their money back, they're saying, hey, can I get some of that money? And it's funny because it's the same people who put us in this situation in the first place.
Well, yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Cash, you brought up a good point, but kidnapping did happen, according to Dr. Snyder. Um, Dr. Snyder says, quote, to meet the demands for the market for more slaves, traders stirred up wars among tribes, right? Tribal kings began to look for excuses to attack. Kidnapping turned into a business, cash gains. It was a business. And I want to tell y'all a piece of scholarship that I didn't bring to y'all. I was trying to keep it to myself, but I got to tell it. It got so bad in West Africa, ladies and gentlemen, that the tribal kings, to make an extra buck, look for justification to sell people into slave trade. So there's an account that a child got eaten by a leopard, like some type of big cat ate a child, and they couldn't. So basically, the tribal chief of that neighborhood said, "You didn't protect this child from the leopard. Therefore, I'm selling all of you into slavery." So a child getting eaten by a leopard turned into justification for the dude to sell the whole neighborhood into slavery. It was out of hand. It was a moral collapse. Did you land your plane, Cash Gains?
Yeah. I just wanted to bring the timeline from way back then to modern day and show us the same people benefiting off our oppression.
Oh yeah. You mentioned Osu. That's Osu is now a very fancy neighborhood in near Accra. Yep. Go ahead, Mr. X.
I think Black Truth had his hand up.
Oh, I didn't even see Black Truth's hand. Go ahead, Black Truth.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Thanks, Mr. Yes,
Yeah.
I just wanted to add a few quick points. One thing was the thing that I put in the Jumbotron. It's the clip, it's a 24-second clip of Dr. Khalid Muhammad spilling the beans on the bragging quote unquote Pan Africans who, when he visited the continent, were showing off about the wealth that they kept and, just being very condescending and still wanting to have a part in our reparations. And so he made some clear lines of distinctions there. Also, I wanted to touch on the point that you all were talking about with AI. You got to be careful with these companies and what we are sharing with them. I put something in the purple pill. Let me put it in the Jumbotron. There are new avenues for these companies to make money. It's not just in selling you a product anymore. A lot of times it's in selling insurance companies, other companies, possibly intelligence agencies, different data about you. So, for example, when you all were mentioning the robots that clean the house, they're getting a diagram of your house. Remember, that's information that they used to have to uh, pay spies to get. Remember,
Right.
William O'Neill, gave the floor plans of our brother Fred Hampton's home. Now they'll just give you a free robot, or a seemingly free or a cheap robot, which will do the same thing for them that requires less money on their part. So not only that, but these car companies, especially the new car companies, they're taking all types of data. There are weight sensors. They're seeing, okay, did he gain a couple of pounds here? Okay, he lost 10 pounds. What has he been doing? Oh, he's been going to the gym. They have the location data. They have, where you frequent. I mean, it's a lot of data. And these car companies are investing in data centers in order to store all your data in order to sell it to various companies. So they're becoming more of a almost like a data broker type of a company, more so than just a product, car company. So just something to keep in mind when it comes to this new age of technology. I know Brother McCall could probably drop some more gems with this. But yeah, we definitely have to be careful when it comes to data. And then the last point is sister no taxation. I can't believe you couldn't understand what I said. I said eagle, eagle. And I had a very similar experience to that in high school. I had a science teacher, and let's just say things didn't go well. That was literally the only class that it took my GPA down from being one of the highest, but I don't want to get into all the details. Yeah, these East Indian teachers are definitely anti-black and a problem for a lot of FBA students. And with that, I'll end.
I just want to say I saw Mikhail back down there. Mikhail, do me a favor, and if you can hear me, go ahead and send me that stuff. I don't know if you know this already, but the other day when you told me the date where you sent me the scholarship, I didn't see it. Like I've told you this already, but I was confused about why is it not coming through. And I looked at your profile, and it said follow Mikhail. Now I followed you before, so somewhere along the lines somebody without my permission unfollowed you on my page, so you're followed again, so go ahead and
Let
send
me,
that.
Professor, let me just say this because this is kind of important. I've been on here 12 years, and I'm starting to tell people who haven't been on here as long that, yes, this app will unfollow some of your people and follow people that you don't want followed. So it's not always about the other person, okay? Because this app has historically, even when it was Twitter, was doing that.
Wow.
So I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I know. I followed him on when I heard him on Tariq one time, like when I first got on. But it unfollowed. I didn't unfollow you. Some unfollowed you, so that's why I didn't get your stuff. So if you don't mind, brother Mikhail, go ahead and send me the stuff when you get no rushes, just when you get a chance, so I can look it over. Mr. X, go ahead.
Peace, peace. I just want to say I really
You
don't think.
okay? Oh, go ahead. I wasn't talking to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just want to say I really don't think that they know as much about their like deep history as they claim, because like when I left school, I went to the military, right? And I would this was like around the time where I first started trying to learn more about myself, and my roots, right? And I would go up to Africans, because Africans would join the military in order to become citizens. So I would go to like a Ghanaian or a Nigerian, and I would ask them, I would be like, "Did y'all sell us?" Um, and every person I asked always had a different story. Like someone would say, "No, bro, we didn't even know they were taking y'all." Like that's just a flat out lie, right? Um, some of them would say that we were like in a different tribe and we were warring and we lost. That's like another thing. And then um, there was one more. Um, I forgot it, but yeah, basically everybody that I talked to always had a different story. And then they don't even. know much about their ancient empires either. Like they don't know about like the Benin Wall. The Benin Wall was like 3 times the length of the Great Wall of China. They don't know anything about that. They don't know anything about all the metal work that was going on in West Africa. Like our majority of that work that was brought out was by our scholars. Um and that was due to what we went through over here, just searching for identity because we had been beaten down so much and told that we were nothing but, slaves, and, our resilience and our spirit that ended up helping a whole continent of people. Um, so that's just very crazy, how that happened. And the last thing I want to say is, um, Brother Mikkel, whenever you get a chance, don't forget about me, and send me that ghost, that hominid DNA starting place. Whenever you get a chance, brother. Appreciate you.
I appreciate your submission, Mr. X. What branch of military did you join?
Navy.
Okay, okay, cool, dope. Fire Nagy, did you have something to add?
Oh, no, I'm listening. I'm just, listening. It's a pretty good conversation.
Okay,
Hey,
go ahead.
Professor, how could we make a test where, like, if somebody speaks in an exam, and the AI can't like move it from speech to text because they're like so incoherent, like the AI can't understand their English, like that's a fail grade or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, because if I say it, I'm being subjective, right? But how can we objectively like test if someone can be coherent with their with their words?
Well, they pivoted to where if you are unable to understand their accents, you're being racist. They just flat out relabeled it. You're being racist. So they went from, sorry, I have an accent. Yes, you can speak to an American because you can't understand me, to saying that there's no supervisor available and that suddenly everybody is not, everyone is from India or whatever. And now they're on this, I speak English clearly. No, you don't, because I can't hear what you're saying, especially if you're having a detailed conversation. If you're having a basic conversation, fine, you can get through it. But if you're having a problem and you're trying to explain something to someone and it's not a normal problem they're used to dealing with, they don't know what you're talking about. They know maybe 30% of what you're saying, from what I can tell, and I don't know what they're saying. So whatever the problem is that I have is not going to go any better. So why do I have to suffer? My question is, which country do I need to live in to be able to speak to someone in American English? Are all the American English speakers talking in China? Like where should I move? Everyone can go home after vacation and they can say, I, went for my vacation and now I'm back in China. I can be Chinese again. I went for my vacation in the Caribbean. Well, now I'm back home. I can be this again. But I can never be American. I can't go anywhere to be American. I'm drowning in immigrants. There's no place for me to be American in America. So where are the Americans is a question.
Well, it goes back to the danger, to Fire Nagy's point, of the warfare with respect to Nigeria, tribal warfare, and the danger of it. In the 1990s, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Clinton passed a bill called NAFTA. I forgot what NAFTA stood for, but anyway, what NAFTA did, what he said NAFTA was going to do was bring more jobs to the American people. It did the exact opposite. NAFTA took um, factory jobs with working wages, with living wages, excuse me, and took them to Mexico and took them to China. If those of you, I'm an 80s baby. If those of you, you're 80s baby or older, you can remember that in the 90s, particularly the early 90s, shit used to say made in America. Would y'all believe that toys used to say made in America on them? Like,
Jeans too.
I would say what?
Jeans
Yeah,
too.
everything said made in America. Bill Clinton did that. It sent it overseas. How that ties into what Wani's saying is, I mean, it's all about politics. If a politician can do something, a politician could undo something. So we need to focus on reading Dr. Claude Anderson's Powernomics, um, closely studying it, and using Dr. Claude Anderson, excuse me, his tactics of putting our own politicians in office to undo this mess.
Hey, Obama.
But how do we do that with Citizens United? Because Citizens United basically made it so that money is speech. And
Yeah, it may. Yep. Go ahead.
oh
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
agreeing with you. You're right, which is ridiculous.
it's called NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. That's what
Mm-hmm.
you're referring to.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But not just that, but I mean, I think in the election that Hillary Clinton had against Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders actually won more delegates, and they sued the DNC, and the Supreme Court said no, the DNC is a corporation. They don't
Right.
have to give you the person you vote for.
It's
So
it's 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 a farce. It's a farce. But Citizens United case, you're right about that. Did agree that money was free speech, but the most important part of our Nagy is why did it do that? It did that because the Supreme Court decided that corporations are considered a corporation is considered a natural person. Isn't that the most ridiculous shit you ever heard in your life? So therefore, given the fact that corporation is considered a natural person, um, given that fact, Citizens United concluded that the way corporations speak is through the spending of money. And basically, the overall idea is, in my pro se opinion, is given the fact that a corporation is considered a person, and this person speaks through money. This corporation has a First Amendment right of freedom of speech. It's just a farce. It's laughable. It's laughable, but it's real. It's real. And so Professor Noam Chomsky argues, does a corporation have more rights than a human being? And a lot of scholars say, yeah, according to the way the law is written, it's farcical. It's laughable, but it's our reality. I the only way I see out is by the election, wholesale election of politicians that turn that shit around. But then again, you're fighting with corporate interests. You're fighting with money. You're fighting with not supernatural, natural. I meant supranational, above national. That global agenda stuff. And when you play around with them folk, you end up like John F. Kennedy. If you catch my drift.
yeah, I mean it's totally true. You can basically, this is what I believe, convolutes our politics. You start looking at people who are really pro immigration. You're like, why are you so pro immigration? And I just tell people, follow the dark money, because they're probably being paid by maybe the cartels. Maybe somebody has set up a fund in the United States and they've made them pro immigration because the cartels take what, 8 grand per person that crosses the border. We don't know. I mean, all these politicians we also have now are also being caught in bribery scandals. Well, and it's crazy because Citizens United legalized bribery, and now all these politicians are being caught getting money from Turkey. We know they're getting money from Israel, and we know the war in Ukraine is nothing more than is money laundering. It's a big slush fund that's being kicked back to politicians. We all know that.
Yep. Yeah. So the question then becomes, what's the solution? That's all
Hey, the let me get off the the whole point about accents and talk about trade, I suppose, for a second. Um, the TPP was a continuation of NAFTA to me, and that was under Obama. Like he was saying that we're only getting our trade from China and that we need to spread it out even more. But that's more globalization and us depending on other countries for our products. One of them was Thailand, which is still a kingdom, right? It's a monarchy still, and the king allows slavery for anyone who's imprisoned. So there might be some of our products that we get from Thailand through prison labor, not too dissimilar from the 13th Amendment uh, fallacy, right? Um, now, The Biden and now Trump are trying to undo these policies in little ass ways. Um, the Build Back Better Act, it's like trillions of dollars we're supposed to spend to invest in our infrastructure and move us towards clean energy. There's a $7,500 tax credit for any American who's buying their first electric vehicle, and that's just federally. There's also state ones as well that are funded federally. Um, this number, Trump says he's going to increase to 12,500 from just 7,000, but only if 40% of the vehicle was manufactured in America. So essentially, he's incentivizing made in America products through government policy. To me, that's one way.
That
The
is
only
one
other thing
way.
I want
Yes.
it's minute. The only other thing I can mention is you guys were speaking about corporations and the fact that they can donate on behalf of being individuals, essentially, or even more powerful than individuals, obviously. To me, they think that they're representing all of their employees as their constituents, but these are really monopolies, corporations. Instead of caring about their employees, we've known that since the 80s, the CEOs pay rate has gone up to 250 times of the lowest worker when it used to be just 6 times difference. So they're just shareholders bleeding out whatever industry they can put their hands on at the time. If they can't get government subsidy, they'll just cut workers' wages, like, and then buy out politicians to skew the rules in their favor. We're living in an oligarchy for sure.
Unfortunately.
I have one quick question. Is it manufactured in America or is it assembled in America?
Only 40% assembled in America. Yeah, assembled.
Okay, yeah, because that's what they'll tell you. Most of those components are not made in America, and they'll assemble it here and say it's made in America.
Deception. Go ahead, Mr. X.
Yeah, I just wanted to build upon the point Maggie made about the dark money. And I just feel like I don't know, like America kind of reminds me of like a pig. A pig, as long as you put food in front of it, it's gonna eat and it'll eat itself to death, right? And I feel like all of this dark money and all of this, uh, like he said, paying dark money so all these immigrants can flood the country and basically mess the country up. I feel like um, that can really be the downfall. Their downfall is just the amount of greed that they have. Like if you look um, at all of the kingdoms of Europe, right? They have no loyalty to each other. If that means that um, they get more power and more money, they're supremely selfish, and that's their nature. Like you said, an Iceman inheritance. Like that's what they were. Um, that's just their biology. Um, so when you look at this, you can kind of use that and basically use it to your advantage, right? If you know that they don't care about anybody else and they will destroy themselves, or they will destroy anybody in order to enrich themselves, then you could kind of use their ultimate advantage, because their advantage is like they'll do anything to get wealth and power, right? Well, you could kind of use that against them and basically um, entice them to go against their own interests in order to
I hear what you're saying. That's interesting.
basically. So yeah, that's just something to think about. But yeah, I gotta get out of here. I got like some work, but I just wanted to tell y'all thank y'all. I appreciate the space.
I appreciate your submission, brother.
Hope y'all have a good night.
Oh yeah. Anybody else want to add to the contribution?
Yeah, Professor, I was gonna say I didn't think I understood what Mr. X was saying until the very end.
Mm.
I've been making examples of conversations we could have around reparations, where people are like, "How you gonna pay for it? How you gonna pay for it?" and trying to make a win-win strategy from that.
Mhm.
I feel like a lot of racists have been fallen victim of the media propaganda that black people are welfare queens, right? And that
Wow.
we're off of
Yeah.
food stamps and off of social welfare programs. That they even sometimes say that that's our reparations. Like we already got affirmative action, right? Um, Instead of constantly trying to educate them and tell them that white women are the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action, that white women are the biggest people on food stamps by population and by percent,
That's a
and then it's
fact.
actually foreign-born people before Americans. Only 32% of native-born Americans utilize social welfare programs, while over 65% of those who are foreign-born do. I argue instead we should cut those programs to pay direct cash payments as far as reparations. And although it might sound like we're going to lose our Section 8 housing, which has perpetually kept us impoverished. The truth is, they're going to be the ones losing that program, and so will the immigrants. So we should cut those programs that aren't helping us. It's helping white folks, and they're living off of us, and pay reparations. Let's get rid of the welfare queens and pay reparations. There might be ways that we can square a circle or even weaponize people who think that they understand what the world is instead of trying to educate them. Because Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said they have a subconscious fear of annihilation. So there's no educating them into accepting us as human beings. There's just weaponizing them towards our goal, like a chess piece.
Oh yeah. I wanted to take advantage of what the gentleman just said and put something in the jumbotron I saw earlier today when I was at work. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna introduce that to the space. Yesterday, I wanted to talk about that subconscious fear that the gentleman just brought up with Dr. Welsing, and to kind of teach the space that Sigmund Freud said. Well, number one, Sigmund Freud said that the black man and woman have a totally different psychology. I'm paraphrasing him, of course. Totally different psychology than Europeans. And Sigmund Freud identified the European psychology as that of uh, Eros and Thanatos. So if y'all look quickly in the Jumbotron, you'll see Eros is the life instinct, which deals with procreation, an obsession with making babies, social cooperation, and Thanatos, eating, and like Thanatos, the death instinct. So basically, Freud argued that European psychology is bifurcated between a need to, I'm trying to be professional with this, ladies and gentlemen, a need to go make as many babies as possible, an obsession with sex, basically, and Thanatos, the death instinct, the need to kill, aggression, um, and relieving trauma. So that is not the psychology of the melanated being. We have totally different psychologies, and the sad thing about it, if we have trauma and we go see a psychologist, more than likely we're going to be being dealt with Freudian psychology, which don't even fucking apply to us. No taxation. You're a psychologist. Educate me on that. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
About what?
The death instinct, Freud's death instinct. I don't know. Are you a behavioralist?
I was just thinking about, you know what I was thinking about? If you would say something about fear. Fear stops people. It can stop you in your tracks. It paralyzes you. But it's really just you're you don't know what's coming up. You don't know the unknown. And that's why you're afraid. So it's always a mind over matter when you start talking about fear. Now I'm going to tell you this. I didn't think nothing about Sigmund Freud, but I had to study him to get through them classes. But because he was, he was a dope fiend.
Cocaine, yeah.
And he got his daughter on dope and his wife
And he did
and
sexual experiments on his
with
daughter.
his daughter
He was in one
and
of
his
those
wife.
clubs,
So, I didn't have a
Ugh.
lot of respect for him.
sex magic.
So, but you have to tell me about that, Professor, because I did enough to pass the class on him. I don't know why we had to talk about no dope fiend, that was also a pedophile. But I wanted to say this: is the diaspora more successful than FBA? Here's what I want you guys to understand, because I was listening to the conversation, Professor, and you talked about NAFTA, and you talked about a couple of other policies that have gotten in the way of all Americans, truth to tell. And then when it comes to us, you said, "What's the solution?" And the room got quiet. I'm going to tell you something about black folks, us, our people. And I was taught this by Dick Gregory, Uncle Dick Gregory, that's what I called him. He said, there's never been any other people on the planet but us that purposely go up against the greatest war machine the world has ever seen.
Right.
We have to understand what kind of power we have. We will always be more successful. The reason why we're more successful is because we have the most formidable opponent the world has ever seen. Isn't that something? And we've won some battles. Now, we ain't won the war. If we ever get our piece of the pie, see, that's it. It's a wrap, because everybody knows we'll go our separate ways. And that's the worst thing that could happen to them folks, because without us, they cannot survive. And that's just true tea. And I want y'all to remember that. So forget the diaspora people. It, it really don't matter. They don't go up against the greatest war machine the world has ever seen. And their ancestors have not gone through the most horrific form of enslavement that the world has ever seen. So never forget who you are, okay? That's the proof. That's the pudding. And I'm going to leave it there.
I appreciate it. We're gonna go to cash gains.
Yeah, I remember when I was learning about Sigmund Freud, the German dude, that he was like a lifetime cigar smoker or whatever, but that he switched to smoking crack for like 3 years. He said it was like
Wait,
a wonder.
crack?
Crack cocaine.
What?
He's addicted to
He
cocaine.
had
Yeah.
it then?
Okay. He was putting it in his cigars. No, excuse me, in his pipe. My understanding. OD. But I remember he used to talk about the Oedipus complex,
Which
because
which don't apply to Black America. It don't
yeah,
apply to
which
Black
was
people.
so bizarre to me. I used to try to sit back and try to make it make sense, and it never did. I used to be like, "What is wrong with these people?" To even say, for him to try to bring it back full circle, I was like, "Man, let that story lie." You know what I'm saying? But essentially, a dude wants to kill his father and marry his mother. They think that that's a psychology that a lot. I mean, maybe, let's say that he said Europeans had, because he wasn't necessarily studying all of humanity, and he had a very limited understanding of history. If he was using Greek as his foundation for philosophy, it would have been outdated at the very least. But I mean, the Renaissance has a gaping black hole of knowledge in it anyway, so we get it. The only other thing I wanted to say is what you put up above, the Eros and Thanatos. I think of that very simplistically. I've tried to sit back and be like, what is it that really Europeans have as far as culture? And I only put it into two categories. There's divide and conquer, which is one thing, and there's kill slash rape. And it's the reason that they are still alive today. And kill slash rape is kind of the what's listed up above. So I definitely see how that has been perpetuated and how they might try to um, pathologize it or make it make sense, for lack of a better. But it's definitely what they do. That's definitely, like, if I had to describe the European ideology, I would describe it how Freud did put it up above.
Well, cash gains, I really appreciate the way you put it. You put it in simpler terms, kill slash rape. And that goes back to their history of the young and Dryas when they were in just be real, they were in a situation where that's how you have to survive. It's, just aggression. But the reason why I put it up there was not to diss a certain group of people. I was just trying to point out that that's not our psychology, although we are fit into that box of, well, everybody thinks this way. No, everybody doesn't. The Oedipus complex does not apply to Black people. We don't. have an obsession. And the way Oedipus was explained to me is they're jealous of their father because they want their mother. No, I was never jealous of my
Why do
father.
they, can we, like, wait a minute. I'm just now realizing that that's insane.
Hello.
What, why do you think they have that point of view? I usually just ignore all of that stuff that he says. I read some quotes from him, so I don't find him valid. I just basically ignore him. He's also in one of those, secret organizations, and he got very popular after joining the organization, like
Hello.
everybody else in the organization. They did something to prop him up, and he's a total charlatan, and as you said, a drug addict. And so I don't believe anything. The only thing that I believe in psychology and psychiatry is talk therapy. So call your aunt and your best friend and your uncle or whoever you can trust. That does work, but everything else is not very successful. Now, explain to me why you think they have this mother thing, because I don't understand it.
I don't. It never made sense to me.
So
The best I
nobody tried to figure it out.
the
That's
bet
not
the
something that the other people tried to figure out.
the
You
bet.
know what it is? It's the opposite of it takes a village. You know what I'm saying? They want to like super focus on like where you come from as far as just your mother and father. And again, it's a Greek story, the Oedipus story, and it leads to I think it was like retold by Shakespeare too. So they romanticize uh, I don't want to say dastardly actions. I don't know how else to call it though. They yeah.
You have to look
Hmm.
back to understand it, Wani. You have to look back at that nature versus nurture, and look back during the Younger Dryas, during the Ice Age, so wormy and Ice Age, however you say it. Um, During that time period, there was something called polyandry, where that basically means that you have about five men to share one wife. Women were a rare
Didn't they eat
commodity.
them all? I think they ate
That's
most of
right.
them.
There you go. Women were a rare
They were
commodity.
yummy like wildebeest.
Ugh. Women and babies. Babies was yummy too. Like, all right, that's enough. But that's a fact. I'm like dead serious. But basically, yeah, polyandry. You had five, six men sharing one woman. And calling her his wife because women were so rare because the conditions were so harsh that, like Wani said, women became food. And but anyway, back to the point before I ramble on. Um, what I kind of ascertained about the whole Oedipus complex is women were so rare that young men would get jealous of their dad for having a woman. Like, she's mine, even though it was a mother. But in my opinion, I think that's abnormal psychology. Go ahead, Sotar.
Yeah, I listened to Tommy a long time ago, and I remember like what's his name, Kevin Samuels. They said the same thing, and they would say that when black men would say, "I want to date an Asian woman, Latino woman, whomever," they would say, "Well, your mama's black," and they would say, "Well, that's like a old Oedipus complex. Like I'm supposed to just date a woman just because of her skin color, not my mother don't have no other qualities. Maybe she cooks well, she does her things." And that's what I'm thinking when you said Oedipus complex. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I think in a way we do have it. And people are saying, well, your mama black if you don't date another black woman or foundational woman.
Hmm.
That's strange to relate every woman to a
Your
color.
mother.
I mean, like, if you, okay, so if I date a black man, that does not mean that they're like my father. That's like saying all black people are the same. So you could date somebody totally different than your father, which I did, and they were still black Americans. So that doesn't make any sense. If they don't want to date black Americans, go on with it, help yourself.
And Oedipus was raised in the wilderness away from his family because he was destined to kill his father, who was like a king. So his father was supposed to kill him as a child, but instead he was like kidnapped away and raised in the wilderness or something. And so he killed the king on accident, like like in like a dispute on the road or something like that, and then he came into town and found that there was a queen and married the queen. Didn't realize that that was his mother the whole time. So it's not necessarily about like someone that looks like your mother. The Oedipus complex is more about like, even though you weren't raised by your parents, you eventually come back to someone who's like them. And that part is like, again, what I didn't think was true. Because there's things about, there's things that you agree and, don't agree with for your parents. I don't know. It was just a weird
I could never
complex
date
to.
anyone like my father because there's no one like him. He's too unique and you're never going to find anyone like him. A throwback and a renaissance person. So it's very difficult. Even if I was looking for that, it's not going to happen.
Hey, I've heard I was watching a YouTube video where people were trying to take down Elon Musk, and they said some shit I didn't know about him. That his mother, who's Canadian, and his father, who's quote unquote South African, that they had Elon had multiple kids, but she already had a daughter from a previous marriage. He ended up having a whole family with that stepdaughter, yo.
Mm.
The fuck?
Whoa.
Where C said Elon Musk. Did you see what he said today, Cash? Either he said it today or yesterday. Somebody, anyway, they crunched up the numbers about deregulation because they're getting ready for everything to make their money and stuff. So they're trying to figure out how much money is being wasted by regulations, taxpayer money, quote unquote. It was in the trillions. So my thing is, so if you coming in to deregulate, and it's to the tune of trillions, well, that's reparations right there. Now, what's the problem now? See?
Mm-hmm.
So just say, go over there and look and see what they said, Cash. Take a look, take a look at it. If I see it before you, I'll send it on the back end.
All right, we're gonna give last words to Onyx. What's on your mind, Onyx?
Yeah, I wanted to speak on this whole Oedipus complex stuff. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't understand that stuff whatsoever. I've never gravitated toward there was never. I can't even wrap my mind around even you know choosing somebody because they remind me of my mom. To me, that's just goddamn disgusting. The
Right.
reason why I even gravitate towards black females is because I'm from a black family. That's what I'm raised around. So it's like I'm around black people. And I like people who look like me. That could very well just be my dad or my brother or sister. Like it's not coming from an angle of incestuousness. And I feel like when you're talking about the stuff as far as the whole Oedipus thing and Sigmund Freud, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that's just a thing when it comes to them, because one thing that I've seen that I don't know how the hell this is even a thing. I mean, look, man, we've all looked up pornography before, but there's a whole section of incest this and incest that. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how does that even become a lane for people to even fantasize about? And it's like, I really do think that's something that goes beyond just an Oedipus thing. I think they look at that as an actual avenue. Sister, brother, mother, father. Like, it's nasty.
Hey, bro, I think in the beginning it was more so, hey, my stepmom is hot and I want to smash, or vice versa. My stepdad is hot and I want to smash. It was shit like that. It wasn't with regards to porn. I don't think they went right to that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just not. I just, to me, there's just a no. I just don't entertain that stuff. To me, that's like the same as me entertaining a thought of bestiality. It's like it's some shit that I'm just not into. I'm not fascinated by, and I'm wondering like, how is this even a thing?
Reminds
Some
me of that time I looked up midget porn.
Just stop it while
midget
they can.
porn.
Still recovering, people.
Hey, it's this Latino on Instagram and Twitter that she has all these guys
Is she
doing movies
short?
with her.
She's short.
Yeah, she's like 4'9".
Stop.
And but like all these dudes go for her, man. I mean, she's a size queen too, so I don't know where it's all
A
going.
size
But yeah,
22.
Well, I'll be
What is
honest.
that?
Midgets are kind of born that way, so it's kind of. I mean, that's like somebody with a disability. So I mean, it's kind of hard for me to throw stones, but I see where you're coming from. Because somebody who deals with somebody who's that small, it's like okay, Have you thought about this kind of stuff when it comes to other people who are not small? Like it goes down strange avenues.
Yeah, I mean, they mentioned it on a cartoon I was watching, and I said, that's not a thing. Oh boy, it's a thing.
What cartoons are you watching? You
You
watching
don't want to
like
know.
Oh Lord,
cartoon?
Wani.
Hey, hey, you watching what's that Cartoon Network? Adult Swim. That's what you're watching.
Yep.
You watching Adult Swim? Like, hey, Professor, I know you seen Adult Swim.
Wani, are you watching hentai?
uh, yeah, that's another avenue. But I mean, what can I say, man? People do all types of stuff. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think the incest stuff goes beyond all else. Like to me, that's just that's a depravity right there. That's mental illness.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. And the dog stuff, I keep hearing people bragging about that on YouTube, and that is projectile vomit time. I can't even watch the preview of them talking about what they're going to do with their pet dog.
Ugh.
Ew, ew, and no, stop. And their face is all over the camera. They're like way up on the camera. Hey, everybody, it's me, and they're telling you all this stuff, and it's like, are they on drugs? Do they know their face is on the camera? Are, why do they think this is normal and regular?
Why do they think they're going to be able to keep their job after filming something like that?
Right.
Mm-mm. And it's such a, as a dog owner, I have a Yorkie poo. And I'm going to tell you something, that's very hard for me to take my dog to get groomed. It is. And he's been to just about every groomer around the area. First of all, I just didn't like them. They think they can treat black people any kind of way. They don't have to listen to me. Okay, so I don't have to pay you anymore. And next, I have that attitude. But the other thing about it is you have to be leery because the dog groomers around here are all white. And it's a lot of different nationalities around here, but none of them are dog groomers except for white women. And I have to look at my dog. His name is Plato. I have to look at Plato sometimes after he gets groomed. I have to look him over. I check everything. Be
And you
see,
know what? You know
be
what's
see if he
strange?
get touched.
I'm sorry. You know what's strange? Also, I didn't realize this was even a thing. Also, I was looking up something online. Well, yeah, I saw this one movie called Not Without My Daughter. I don't know if people have ever seen that movie before, but it's like where this person was stuck in oh no, 1 second, maybe it wasn't that one. But bottom line, long story short, it was talking something about in Afghanistan that there are actually boys who
Bachabazi.
yeah, I'm like, what the hell? What is that? I mean, I
It's
thought like
cultural child rape.
yeah, that's the crazy thing. Like, how do they have this
They
mindset
are
of
in the United States now. I hope you know that.
They
like how
told
do
the
you see
Marines
women as just
they, they
yeah, like
they told the Marines that they're not supposed to get mad when they see little Afghani boys being raped, and people had to retire and quit because they couldn't take it. And they said, well, we told them to stop doing bachabazi, which it's extremely old. I mean, this is old. It's so
yeah.
old. I can't even get back to who really started it. But Turkic people are deeply involved. Turkic people are more involved than the Greco-Romans. Anyway, these Afghanis, they have Pashtuns have Greco-Roman ways that they got a long time ago. And this could be a carryover from those ways, or it could be from some other influence because they were all doing this to little boys. They dress them up like little girls. And this is because they keep the women tucked away. Every time you have a society that says the women can't go outside, they can't do this and that, they're not allowed to talk, that's when they start preying on children and people that are outside. And those people are dressed up like women, and they've been doing it for so long, they don't see that it's a problem, that it's wrong and it's harmful to the boy. They don't see it.
I thought they get stoned for that stuff. I thought that homosexuality was a
Yeah,
death sentence
yeah,
over there.
That's a
see,
cultural practice that they
that's
all do.
that's their
And in
culture.
fact, yes, and in fact, if you it is so prevalent that sometimes the moms will dress the little boys up as little girls and grow their hair long and pass them off as little girls. But when the men come to, gather the
Oh my
children, the new
gosh.
ones, yeah, they check them. They check, even if it's a girl, they're going to look to see. Because they don't take girls, they just have the little boys. They're dancing boys.
Yep, dance
That's
Yeah,
boys.
crazy.
samurais do it too.
And the Afghani said that we tried to make them stop because they said make them stop, right? And they said they're armed to the teeth and we cannot make them stop doing it. Although I don't believe that they really want to.
And what's so crazy is that whole narrative is that women are for procreation, boys are for pleasure. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
how the fuck does one see? Like, I don't
We're
understand that
we're
kind of
never gonna
man
we're never gonna
process.
get it. We're
It's
never
it
gonna
has
get
to
it.
be a demon. Has to be.
Because it's a
I think what
common thread through these cultures. It's the same type of thing. It's like, who is telling them this is right? We got the Catholic Church that's been doing this since the Catholic Church. And I don't know, it's like ever since the castrati, and it just keeps going on and reincarnating itself.
I think what happened was they would go on these long war campaigns, the Mongols, the Khanates, the Mongol Khanates, and the Romans, and they'd be gone for years. Sometimes they could take their wives. Most of the times they didn't, and there's these periods of time in which they were just only men and young boys. Like I
But I
said,
don't.
the samurais did it too. But when you're a culture like that that's nomadic and that went across, like, I mean, heck, the Golden Horde was in Russia. I mean, it covered a third of Russia, and that the third it covered was very cold. So you're away from women for like years on end, and they've been doing this for thousands of years. Yeah, they're going to develop some gross practices with young boys.
Aren't they supposed to be around? I mean, aren't women found in more than one place? I
That's a
mean,
good theory.
for example, like American
They
troops go
actually
over whatever.
they actually had harems with the Mongol Empire. They would just demand women from nearby groups to go into their harem. So Genghis Khan and them, they did like women, as we could tell by everybody having the DNA in them. So I don't know. That is a very, very deep practice, and I'm still actually trying to get to the bottom of it because I can't tell which uh, group this started from because it's so old.
It's interesting. All right, for real this time, we're gonna give John Horse last words. Go ahead, John Horse.
Hey, what's
Hey,
good, everybody? Can
Chucky.
y'all hear me? Hey, what's up? Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, okay. Nah, there was something that I was kind of laughing. I was just driving out, just getting home. Wani said that the white supremacists basically was eating they. I mean, it ain't funny, but they was basically eating their wives, bro. Like that. It got me. I was laughing, but there's something that I was thinking about, like just literally, just really, really thinking about, like just maybe it's just in my opinion. I don't know. The white supremacists, they come off like animals. I think like that whole situation, like where you know, even in the Constitution where they said like, oh, they look at us as 3/3 of a human being. I believe that's a projection. Like just like when you look at them historically
I've
and you
thought
just
that
look at
before.
like how they do things, it's just weird. Even like there was a study that actually came out too, and it had me kind of tripping out. And there it was a study done on chimpanzees, and literally the chimpanzees, like when they attack each other and they actually fight like a rival clan or a tribe or like a other clan of like chimpanzees that like aren't a part of their the families or whatever, the male chimpanzees actually castrate the other chimps as like a form of them not being a part of their uh their thing. That literally there was a study and I was like, what in the fuck? I was like just thinking, and you think about Dr. Frances Cress Welsing and everything that she spoke on, like I'm just putting two and two together. I'm just like, Yeah, like the white supremacists operating on a like you said, Professor, they operating on a whole nother spectrum that we're not. And I think it's all a projection. Like that's just for me, and I'll land there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed y'all today. I learned a lot. Let's do a recap. Is the Diaspora more successful in FBA? No. And I'm going to say, and the proof is in the pudding. I enjoyed y'all today. We came to a bunch of good conclusions. I enjoyed the scholarship. Let's keep it going, keep it scholarly. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Wani, did you have any last words?
Good night.
All right, Nikki, any last words?
Good night.
All right, I might see y'all on Tariq's. I'm gonna try to stay up for Tariq's. We'll see. All right, guys. See y'all tomorrow. Peace out.
Peace.